Welcome back to Main Character Classics, besties. No, because we have to talk about the absolute train wreck that is Victor Frankenstein right now. Like, actually, imagine being so cooked that you just stop functioning. Justine is dead. She is literally resting in peace, but Victor is still here, breathing, and his aura is just completely rancid. He is in his absolute flop era, guys. He says his heart is overflowing with kindness, but he is low-key just haunting his own house like an evil spirit because he knows he committed deeds that are beyond horrible. Like, not me imagining him just staring at a wall for 10 hours, thinking about his life choices. Wait, let me just stop for a second. Can we talk about the audacity of this man? He's acting like he's the victim here, but he's the one who played God in a basement, and now he's shocked that things went south. I am deceased.
Oh my God!
Anyway, Victor is basically rotting from the inside out. He is avoiding every single person, because any sound of joy is literally torture to him. He just wants deep, dark, death-like solitude. Then his dad enters the chat, and his dad tries to give him this really stoic advice. He is like, look, Victor, I am suffering too because I loved your brother, but we have a duty to the survivors to not be too sad. He basically tells Victor that if you're too sad, you can't be useful to society.
Shut your fucking mouth!
Ugh, the gaslighting is real. I actually cannot with this man. Like, sir, your son is having a full-blown mental collapse because he created a monster. Maybe don't tell him to just be more useful to society. Victor just looks at him with total despair and tries to hide. Then they move to their house at Belrive, and honestly, Victor loves it because he can finally escape the rules of Geneva. He starts taking his boat out on the lake at night, just floating around and letting the wind take him. He is literally in his main character energy peak here, just rowing into the middle of the lake and having miserable reflections. He even admits he was tempted to just plunge into the water and end it all, but he remembers Elizabeth, his absolute queen, and his dad and brother. He realizes if he leaves, they are just sitting ducks for the fiend he let loose. Wait, stop. Can we just acknowledge how much he hates the monster now? He is literally gnashing his teeth. He says he would literally hike to the highest peak of the Andes just to throw the monster off the cliff.
Shut up, bitch!
The hatred is actually insane. He wants to avenge William and Justine, which is funny because he's the reason they're gone. The level of delusion is honestly a slay. Now we get to the house of mourning. The dad's health is shaking, and Elizabeth is just gone. She is no longer that happy girl talking about the future. She is in her deep depression era, and she starts talking to Victor about how the world is actually terrifying. Elizabeth is like, Victor, I used to think stories about injustice were just imaginary, but now I see that men are just monsters thirsting for each other's blood.
Oh my God!
She says she knows Justine was innocent, and she feels like she is walking on the edge of a precipice, while thousands of people try to push her into the abyss. And the absolute kicker. She says the murderer is walking around the world free and maybe even respected, and she would rather be on the scaffold than be a wretch like that.
Did it?
I am actually screaming. The irony is literally hitting Victor like a truck. He's standing right there. He is the wretch. He is the one who is free. This is the most awkward conversation in the history of literature. I can't even look at him. Elizabeth tries to comfort him, telling him to banish these dark passions and remember the friends who love him. Victor is just terrified that the monster is going to rob him of her at any second. He feels like a wounded deer, just waiting to die. So, because he can't handle his emotions, what does he do? He takes a vacation. He heads to the Alpine valleys, specifically the valley of Chamounix. He hires a mule, because mules have better rizz on rugged roads, I guess, and just wanders through the mountains. The scenery is giving peak aesthetic. He sees these huge glaciers and the magnificent Mont Blanc, and for a second, he actually feels okay. Like, nature is basically telling him to stop crying. But then, the mood swings hit again. He goes from feeling the light-hearted gaiety of boyhood to literally throwing himself on the grass in horror and despair. The instability is real, besties. Finally, he reaches the village of Chamounix. He is just exhausted, physically and mentally. He watches some lightning over Mont Blanc, listens to the river, and finally, sleep creeps over him. He is just so happy to finally forget everything for a few hours. But we know how this goes. He thinks he is safe in his little sleep bubble. And bestie, we haven't even gotten to the part where... What is up, besties? Welcome back to Main Character Classics, the only place where we take the most dusty, ancient books and turn them into the absolute tea they deserve to be. Today, we are back with our favorite delusional tech bro with a god complex, Victor Frankenstein. So, Victor is currently in his healing era. No, because he is literally just wandering around a valley in the Alps, staring at glaciers, and pretending that the big, scary mountains are curing his depression. He is talking about the Arvaren Glacier and how it is basically an imperial presence chamber of nature. We get it, Victor. The scenery is a sleigh, but you literally built a man out of old body parts and then ghosted him.
What the Sigma?
I cannot with him. He is really out here thinking that looking at some shattered pines and hearing avalanches is going to remove his grief. He is trying to manifest peace, and honestly, the aura is just desperate. He goes to sleep thinking the snowy peaks are his besties, telling him to be at peace. Wait. Let me just say, the way he thinks nature is his personal therapist is actually sending me. Maybe try a licensed professional instead of a giant wall of ice. Bestie. But then the next morning happens, and the vibes are immediately rancid. It is pouring rain, the mist is thick, and Victor is suddenly back in his dark, melancholy era. But because he has that insufferable main character energy, he decides that a little storm is not going to stop him. He is not me climbing a mountain in a monsoon. He decides to head up to the summit of Montenvert, and he refuses to take a guide because, he wants the solitary grandeur. He really thinks he is the only person in the world who can truly appreciate the aesthetic of a desolate wasteland. The climb is actually terrifying. There are broken trees everywhere from avalanches, and there is this one part of the path where if you even speak too loudly, you might literally trigger a rock slide and get deleted from existence. Actually, the mountain is basically telling him to shut up. Victor is looking down at the valley and starting to spiral, wondering why humans have such complex feelings when animals just want food and sleep. He is basically writing a mid-tier Tumblr poem in his head about how life is just one big cycle of mutability. Ugh, he is so dramatic. We know you are sad, Victor, but please stop glazing your own suffering. Finally, he reaches the top at noon. He is sitting on a rock, looking at the sea of ice, and the mist clears. He is feeling all emotional, literally shouting to the wandering spirits to either give him happiness or just take him away. He is basically begging the universe to end his subscription to life. And then, out of nowhere, he sees him. Some guy is coming toward him at superhuman speed. He's bounding over ice crevices like it is a track meet. Victor is shook. He feels faint, the wind hits him, and then he realizes it is the wretch. It is his creation. The man he made and then left on read for months. Victor does not even try to have a conversation. He immediately goes into full villain mode. Victor literally screams, "Devil, do you dare approach me?" He calls him a vile insect. He tells him to stay so he can trample him to dust. He is basically trying to cancel the creature in real time. But the creature has the rizz of a century. He does not even flinch. He just says, "I expected this reception." He is look, everyone hates the wretched, but you are my creator, so we are literally tied together until one of us is annihilated. He tells Victor to do his duty, or he will start glutting the maw of death with the blood of Victor's remaining friends. I am deceased. The creature just threatened to wipe out his entire contact list. The audacity. The sheer sigma energy of the creature standing his ground, while Victor is just shaking and screaming, is honestly a huge W for the monster.
Shut your fucking mouth!
Victor is not having it. He springs at him trying to fight, but the creature just effortlessly dodges him. He is be calm, bestie. He reminds Victor that he is literally taller, stronger, and more supple. He is basically saying, "I could end you right now, but I am choosing to be a girl boss and ask for compassion instead." He tells Victor that he should have been his Adam, but instead, he is like a fallen angel. He says he was benevolent and good, but misery made him a fiend. Wait, is he gaslighting him, or is this actual trauma dumping? I cannot tell. Victor is still begone. I will not hear you. We are enemies. but the creature just keeps going. He tells Victor that the desert mountains and icy caves are the only places that do not grudge his existence. He tells Victor that if the rest of humanity knew he existed, they would all be trying to kill him, so why should he not hate them? He basically tells Victor that he can either listen to his story and maybe help him, or he can watch as the creature becomes the scourge of every single person Victor loves. Then the creature does the most unhinged thing. He reaches out and puts his hands over Victor's eyes, saying, "Here, I will take away the sight you abhor." I actually cannot. That is so awkward. That is the ultimate Ike. But then he tells Victor to come to his hut on the mountain so they can talk before the sun goes down. And Victor, because he is low-key curious and starting to feel some actual guilt for being a terrible dad, actually follows him. They cross the ice in the rain, and they enter this little hut. The creature is acting all exultant, and Victor is just depressed and exhausted. Victor sits down by the fire, and the creature finally starts to spill. And bestie, we haven't even gotten to the part where...
bombastic side-eye. Criminal offensive side-eye. Do you understand?